Hey everybody, this is Charlie Musselwhite, and you're listening to Athena After Dark. I ain't lying. Thank you.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Athena After Dark. That's me pushing the buttons. I'm getting better. Gotta love Charlie Musselwhite. I hope you guys had a great week. I know I did. Um, you got to get through. Every Monday is definitely a Monday, but my favorite part is getting to be here with you guys. So I appreciate you being here and watching. And I'll do my best to keep an eye on the chats. However, I'm learning to focus. We'll just say that. Okay. Well, you guys know I love having the guests. It's always about the guests. Tonight we have a fabulous guest. He's amazing. He's also here in Florida, not South Florida, but he's in Florida, so he understands what it means to sweat 115 degrees in the shop today. So yeah, that was a sheer pleasure. Lots of electrolytes, lots of water, some Gatorlight, whatever you got to do. But I know everybody's going through it, and thoughts and prayers going to everybody in Alaska and other parts of the country, Grand Canyon, who are under, floods and mudslides and things like that. So, we just say our best. And if there's anything anybody can do, don't forget, help your communities. It matters. All right. So, yeah, this week is a crazy week for me. Let's start out by saying, I got to say this because this is the most important thing. We're going to start out with the best. Start out with the best first tonight. Okay. So this guy here, this handsome man, my husband, Sir Don Ransom, in his nice 5-ball leather. I love that. It's a great picture. My partner in crime, my riding partner, my everything. So on Wednesday, we'll be celebrating our 20th anniversary. So Mr. Don Ransom, I love you beyond words. You know that, I hope, more than anything in the world. So, yeah, 20 years. Holy smokerolies. That's some ups and downs. And just, I have to say, the kids are grown. So much has happened. We've done so many crazy, exciting things in motorcycles, outside of motorcycles. We've taken care of families, pets, just anyone and anybody that we can in our community. And then the same backwards. So, yeah, it's been a wild ride. And I look forward to more. Thank you, Dennis. I see you out there. I'll tell Don that you said happy anniversary. He's probably watching by now. He's probably home. They were wiring one of our friends' motorcycles in their garage tonight. So that's we're getting ready for Monday Night Football. So because he'll be at home watching football and I'll be here doing this. I'll get the highlights when I get home. So, and he's definitely will give me the play-by-play. He will write it down for sure. Okay, so let's start out with the upcoming events. This is what's going on, and hot damn, am I excited. Okay, you ready? Here we go. We're on the countdown, Smoke Out. Okay, if you haven't been to Smoke Out, you really, 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 really need to go. Salisbury, North Carolina. It is so old school and so just Chris and Heather Cowan, I have to say that. And the reason that I say that is because this event is crazy. Like, it's old school. There's camping, there's RV parking, there's all kinds of vendors, there's all kinds of food, there's bars, there's live music, there's entertainment. And when I say entertainment, there's dirt drags. He has shithouse drag racing this year. So they're going to put a guy in a Jiffy John with a catcher's vest and a mask. And then a guy on a motorcycle, they're going to hook the Jiffy John or the shithouse to it. And they're going to drag it. I guess almost like drag racing and tractor pulls, but with a Jiffy John. I'm so excited to see this. It is beyond awesome. And a lot of the other things that go on there, it's a win no matter what. So, okay. So after Smoke Out, then we have, and that's coming up the 5th through 8th of September, Smoke Out. So go now, go, get your tent ready, get on the road. Okay. Here in Homestead, Miami, we have on September 7th and 8th, if you're in Florida and you don't get a chance to go to Smoke Out, we have the Pan Am Superbike Race. This is exciting. It's something that I have just recently started watching, thanks to Grease and Gears TV and some other good sports stuff. It's wild. It's extremely wild. Okay, then we have Ocean City, Maryland is having their Bike Fest. And that's September 11th through 15th, 2024. You can find that at ocbikefest.com. Okay, East Coast stuff. All right, and then Reno and Virginia City, Nevada. It's September 26th through 29th. They have Street Vibrations. It's supposed to be a really good event. I have not made this one yet, but I'm hoping to. There's the web address, roadshowsreno.com. Check it out. You still have time to plan, and it's a good ride before it starts getting cold north of here. Anything north of here is cold. All right, and then Biketoberfest, 32nd annual. I've only missed 2. I was at the first, so it's pretty crazy to look back at it like that. That's October 17th through 20th. And again, the best reason to be in Daytona for Biketoberfest or Bike Week is Willie's Tropical Tattoo Chopper Time with Willie and Roadside Marty. It's just a fabulous event. Last, I think Bike Week, we had 194 motorcycles registered in the show. Fabulous. And Willie and Miss Jean and the whole crew there, all the security and the staff, everybody, just an amazing group and just wonderful people. So that is Thursday, the 17th, and you need to be there. And if you have to come in a car, there's parking across the street in Publix. Don't park at Walgreens. So just saying. And then at the end of October, High Seas Rally. Everybody's looking forward to this. I puke on boats, so I won't be attending, but I sure wish I was. That's a definite. If you get to see the pictures from the event, and it's kind of like a big biker party on the water, and they have like 5 stops. They go all through the Caribbean, and you get to get off the boat and stuff, which I'd be begging for because, yeah, I can watch a boat at the dock, and when it moves, if I watch it long enough, I can get sick. So it's just a thing. But yeah, High Seas Rally, and everybody has a great time. So it's definitely something to look into. Okay. I guess I'm gonna start out by saying I've been a little crazy hectic over everybody was in Sturgis, and I took on something new. So I will still have the motorcycle shop, and I still be doing the show. However, I have a really good staff at the motorcycle shop, so I am going to be taking on, I guess, a position. It's kind of weird to hear myself say it, but I will be in a position to bring a product over from North America from overseas that I'm really excited about. Hey, Miss Sheila, I see you. Everybody who knows me knows that I don't put my name behind a product or anything unless I truly believe in it. It matters to me. This is some industry-changing technology, which I'm really excited for because I'm all about that. And when it makes sense and it looks good and it works and functions, that's a no-brainer. So we'll start announcing it a little here and there. We're going to be at SEMA. I'm waiting on the booth number and a couple other things, get the website up and going and the marketing. And yeah, I'm really excited. And I think everybody else is going to be excited too because, yeah, that's it. I'm not going to lay more out of the bag. The cat's going to come out. Like the whiskers are out right now. The little ears are popping out. So maybe next week we'll give you a little bit of the whole chin and neck, and then maybe we'll let the fluffy cat out of the bag right after that. So really excited about it though. And I'm excited to take you guys on my journey because this is something so me. I'm ready for it and I'm excited about it. Okay. So let's do this thing. Let's see if my little button worked to save me and the thing in it, but we'll see. Okay. So you guys know we're going to do fan 5 good things. So I'm super humbled. A friend sent me a text and they were feeling like, in their own words, a piece of chicken put in a bag of flour and shook the hell out of before frying. So they decided to remind themselves and me of their 5 good things. So I love it because this makes me feel good. I ask my friends when I talk to them on the phone or we text, and they're really having a hard time, go ahead and just give me your 5 good things. And this person took it upon themselves, which I'm going to leave them anonymous because I just wanted to share the love that goes on and how good it makes me feel that others are inspired by the positive, uplifting way that I look at the world. So, and they share it. So I'm really good for it. So, number 1 is I can literally and figuratively fry a chicken in an iron skillet that will make you want to slap your mama. I like that one. Like, I'm down with that. I'm ready for some fried chicken now. Hi, Ty. I see you. Okay. Number 2, my utility bills and mortgage are paid this month. That is fabulous. Number 3, I have plenty of food in the house right now. That is another good one. Number 4, the new anxiety medication I'm taking is working beautifully. That is something to be said for that, because getting medications right are definitely difficult, especially when you need them. And then number 5 is they said your friendship. So it meant the world to me, because like, just to get that out of the blue, uh, I responded to a text they had sent a couple days ago, because again, I've been in the midst of all this learning so much on the other side of what I do, on the professional capacity and the business sense, products. And, I'm used to us being the product. So it's definitely, it's interesting. But yeah, it was really cool, because I just text back, and I got this response, and I was like, it made me feel good inside, which is why that's what drives me to do just everything that I do. Um, yeah. And to shout out to the Lake Mary Little League baseball team. They won the Little League World Series. So we're very happy about that. Um, Bob, I see you out there. I see you, sweetheart. Mr. Don Ransom is watching. I knew he'd be watching. That's awesome. Hopefully you got to see my happy anniversary to him. Okay, so that made me super happy. So I just want to share that with you guys. All right, so we're going to shout out to our friends. Okay, make sure you support them. They support us with our little contests and getting the word out there and stuff. Viking Bags, Cycle Source Magazine, Chris and Heather, they are the bomb. Mark, the whole, everybody that works with them, Camel, whole 9 yards. Paco, my favorite. Ian, he is one of my favorites over there. SNS, and yeah, Miss Lori, and all the crew over there. Bob, we love Bob. Just, we don't call Bob on Mondays. Chicago Motorcycle Supply, Willie's Tropical Tattoo, Baker Drivetrain. I love it. Farm Life Creamery. I'll tell you, that's the best cheese in the world. Palm Beach Harley Davidson and the crew, Chris and Gino and Nugget and Parts. Open Road Radio, Miss Gina Woods. She is on an hour before us. You can find her at openroadradio.com. You should check it out. She's on every Monday, and she's fabulous. All right, Miss Maggie South Country Inn. If you ever want to stay in Daytona and you want to do a bed and breakfast, this woman's place is fabulous. Miss Maggie South Country Inn. Then the Biker Bells. Oh, they had a fabulous ride in Sturgis. Miss Tony and everybody put it together. It was awesome. And looking forward to Daytona Bike Week. Tobacco Road, Harley Davidson. Mark and Miss Ashley. Teddy Morris, Harley Davidson. Sir Teddy, the crew over there. Miss Rebecca. Twisted Tea, Billy. We love him. And the pup. And then, of course, Rogue at Biker Lives Matter and Bandit at bikernet.com. So please, there's links on the bottom of athenaafterdark.com. Please go ahead and go over there and support them, and, check out what they got going on. So, all right, we're getting right into it. Next question. Ask Athena. We're doing this segment. Oh, boy. I love these. I think I copy and pasted this, and I didn't even get to read it. So here we go. Let's see. Are you ready? Here we go, because it looks interesting. I don't know. Okay, we'll just say it this way. I don't know how I turned into freaking Dear Abby of motorcycle shows, but I get it. So, and I don't mind. I'll talk to anybody about anything. If you think my perspective will help you, I know a little and I can guess the rest. That's how it goes. All right. So, hi, Athena. I'd like your chick perspective on a relationship issue. It seems you answer those types pretty well. Yeah, apparently that's why everybody keeps sending them. Says, I love my girl, but we have a ton of ups and downs, back and forths. We both play our part in the bullshit, but it seems she feels I keep letting her down. And I know I'm not very consistent with the follow through on some things, but how in the fudge do I get her to believe me when I say I will honestly work on it? She is a keeper, and I'm lucky to have her, but she doesn't seem convinced. Oh, shit. For real. Of all the questions. Okay, Zach. That's what it said, Zach from... Wait, I got to go back to that. My apologies to everybody, because I have to read that again. Currently in the dark, Zach. Okay. Okay. So... All right, Zach. Again, I'm not Dear Abby, Dear Athena, whatever, but I can give you my best perspective on this. Because, yes, I am a chick and I do get chick stuff. So I understand guys to some degree, been around enough of them my whole life. I didn't have a lot of girlfriends growing up, mostly hung out with the boys. So, but in the chick perspective of it, granted, two human beings, neither one is perfect. Nobody's perfect. Let's get that right out of, and like you said, everybody plays their part in whatever goes on. So with that said, kudos to you because you have enough self-awareness, if that's the right freaking word to pick, to know that you've kind of dropped the ball if you've, said you do stuff or you don't follow through on things. At least you can acknowledge it. So kudos, good job for that. What can you say? Okay, here, you ready for this? What can you say? So let's just say, when you tell her you're going to do something and then you don't do it, like say you call her and you say you're coming home from work and she's going to cook dinner for you. And then you show up like 2 hours later because you were drinking with the guys at the shop or whatever you were doing, or you went out or whatever it is. And you do that consistently, it breaks trust because then she can't count on your word. So in relationships, you only get so many I'm sorry's and so many I'll fix it, I'll work on it before you run out of that shit. So everybody's human, can only stand so much. But what can you say to make her believe you? Not a freaking thing. Stop talking. Don't say a word. Do something. Actions. Like, do something. Nobody after a certain amount of times of hearing, I'll fix it or I'll do better or whatever. And on both ends, you know what I mean? Women do it too. But at some point it just becomes lip service. So all it is words after, so many times. So you actually have to make the effort, change the behavior, and then understand that women are very emotional. Like, we react on emotions where guys don't. Men mostly react on facts. So until you understand that about women, I don't know where you go with that, but that's an important thing. So don't say anything. Do whatever it was that you did in the beginning. Like when you're in relationships, Don and I have been married 20 years. You have to consistently work at that. It's consistently work. If I could give you the best advice, pursue her heart. You pursued her heart in the beginning. And a lot of times we become comfortable in our relationships because we have responsibilities and duties and things that we take care of. And not that I don't like when people say you become comfortable, just that all that other stuff takes up and consumes your time. So you have to actually be having a forethought to make time, work at it. When things bother you or bother her, you have to, be able to communicate about it. I know everybody hates that freaking word, but like, you actually have to be able to talk about it without being nasty, defensive, all those things, and that's work. It takes work. But if you really love somebody, you put in the work, and on both sides. Women can't expect guys to just be the all of it and then not participate themselves. So hopefully that helps. Do it. Don't talk about it. Change the behavior, make the actions, follow through, set an alarm on your phone. I heard that works for a lot of people to do whatever. Date night. Apparently date night's pretty good too. So that works for a lot of people. So try it out. Oh my God. Okay, Dear Athena is not Dear Abby. I love you guys. Somebody please ask me some question next week or something about your motor or something technical I can answer, because I don't think I'm really good at that, like giving that kind of advice. All right. If you guys have not yet subscribed, Grease and Gears TV, go to Grease, the letter N, Gears, TV.com. When I tell you, it is the freaking Netflix of motorcycles, anything and everything. If you want to see an event you were at, maybe you made it on camera. If you missed the event, you've never been to the event, you want to see what it's all about, racing, barn finds, I know Miss Heather and Miss Janine have a cool Moto Women show. There's so much cool stuff on there. It's just absolutely crazy. Product reviews, so much. So go get your subscription. It's not expensive. Do it. I promise you will not be disappointed in any regard. Okay. And then for news, of course, like I tell everybody, bikernet.com, motorcycle magazine. It's got global coverage. Everything is owned by bikers, customs, choppers, performance parts, technology, rider gear, racing, adventures, events, and the fight to ride free. And Bandit's top notch. So today they have 5-ball racing. So Bandit has land speed racers and motorcycles that they race on the Salt in Bonneville. And today, on the anniversary of Burt Monroe's setting the record for the world's fastest Indian, Micah McCloskey with 5-ball racing and Bandit, they set a new record. So Burt is smiling down on them from the Facebook post. They had a great time, and I'm so excited. And next year, I'm so looking forward to going. I will be at Bonneville next year. It's definitely on the list. And another little, so the whiskers came out and the ears. So another little tidbit, and go stick the nose right out of that little bag that the cat's in. It'll be business when I go to Bonneville. I'll be working. It'll be fabulous. I'm so excited. That's awesome. Okay, so we did that. We did the Ask Athena. We did all that. Okay, so everybody knows when I invite a guest, I always ask them for any organization that they support, their charity, the community organization, whether it's the YMCA or their favorite, whatever it is. So we have a dose of goodwill tonight that our guest supports. So I'm going to go ahead and put that up here. All right. So Combat Hero Bike Build, giving the freedom of the road to our wounded veterans. Many of our warriors come home with both mental and physical disabilities. For some, due to the, boy, howdy, I tell you, the print is really small. I'm getting old. For some, due to the nature of the injuries, it can be extremely life-altering. Motorcycling requires both mental and physical commitment that promotes the individual's ability to overcome their newest challenges to experience life as it is meant to be. This program takes the warrior past the thank you for your service and enables them to show others and themselves that nothing can stop the person who wants to move on. So you have to check it out. This is the web address. I did a little bit of research. I was just floored by this organization. We have some folks in our industry that do this. And anytime you can do anything involving children, our veterans, I mean, and for me, our service members are also teachers, firefighters, railroad workers. I mean, those are the ones that keep us going. So I want a big shout out. Thank you all for your service. It's greatly appreciated. And please go and check out the charity because it matters. And knowing our guest tonight, he's super cool and he knows. We'll get him to talk a little bit about the organization. So get to go through pictures now. Okay, let's see if my little prompter thingy worked. I'm going to go right here. Oh, I can do this. I can push the button. Okay, so here we are. This picture of our guest tonight, who is an incredibly talented man. I'm honored to have him as a friend. He's a writer, a builder, a former teacher, a broadcast professionalist, and he's a successful service center owner. Big shop. I admire him and respect him, and he is the driving force behind Cycle Stop USA and the Garage Built podcast. Jason Hallman is here, and he is tonight's spotlight. This picture was taken by Michael Lichter. We, in the industry as builders and those who work with our hands, we love when we get a photo taken by Michael Lichter because he's a legend in the motorcycle photography world around us. So it's super cool. All right. There he is with Buck. Buck puts on the Tennessee Motorcycle and Music Revival along with Carrie Rep and Buck and Tanya. They are fabulous. That's him in his old PCC shirt when he used to work with Aaron Green. I love that. It's fabulous. Okay. Black and white photos of when we were all young. Gotta love that. You know, and look at that. He had his helmet on too. See, now everybody copies that style. Back then, some of them made fun of us, but you know, I think back then we had to wear a helmet in Florida. It's been so long, I absolutely forgot. Look at that. All right, peace and love in the shop. Very good. And that's him and his beautiful wife. It's fabulous. Boy, she makes him look good, huh? She's gorgeous. Lucky guy. I'm apparently assuming with this, he has a shoe thing. Like, I don't know if that's his closet or if he's literally in a shoe store and he just wants those shoes. But I understand that whole thing because I'm a person shoe girl. There he is, I believe, with his dad. Look at that 70s mustache and the aviator glasses. I so love that. That's fabulous. And that's a true human being who is proud of who they are and where they come from. The pictures from the diapers, the actual models we used to put together in the 70s, that was what we got for Christmas, and we were so excited about it. I love it. It's fabulous. There we go. Getting altitude off the ramp that we probably built out in the backyard. Dad giving us money, probably go skating or something like that. I love it. And I love that they send these pictures. Now, look, there's where the motorcycle stuff comes from. Look at that chopper. That's young motorcycle love there. That's how you know you're born into it. Check it out. The parts. You don't see pictures like that anymore. 80s film photos that you have to take a picture of the picture. That's so cool. Look at that girder front end. Gotta love that. Oh my goodness. All right. More love. Look at those smiles. Like, we live the best life because we get to enjoy each other, our friends, our family, our moto family. We get to enjoy each other. And this is the result of it. This is why I love having people on this show, because this is truly, genuinely who they are. Look at that smile. That not incredible? And then, of course, sitting in traffic. Might not be such a smile, but in there's a smile somewhere. Okay, Jason Hallman, Cycle Stop USA. You can find it at Cycle Stop USA. The Garage Built Podcast. You guys have to listen to it. It's fabulous. And that's at the Garage Built Podcast. You can go garagebuiltpodcast.com. All right, we're going to bring him in here. I just got to get back to the camera and find it. Doing pretty good at pushing the buttons today. I'm actually like very impressed with myself. I'm learning how to record too. I noticed that the audio didn't work on our little intro video. I'm going to work on that too. Jason's real good at this stuff, so maybe I'll pick his brain one of these days and ask him what the hell I'm doing wrong. You know, one-legged woman in an ass whooping contest. That's me. Hello, sir. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am very good. Very good. It's so nice to see you.
And you.
And so how is the world around you?
My world is very full right now. It's we've got a full shop. We've got good staff. I've got, some great grandkids now, and I get to do a lot of traveling.
Great grandkids.
Yeah, I have 3 grandkids now.
Okay. They're grandkids. They are great in your world, but they're not.
Oh, they're great, but they're grandkids. Yeah, not great.
You're not that old yet. I was going to say.
No, hell, I'm only 51. I'm not that old, but I'm at the age right now. I realize that I'm right at the age where my dad started the shop and officially got an EIN number and decided to make it official and get the government involved. That's the age that I'm at right now.
Right. Exactly. I know how that goes. Nice shirt, by the way.
Thank you very much. I got this in Sturgis this year.
You did. And it was years in the making. Now you are part of the Hamsters USA organization, which is a fabulous place to be, especially in our industry and what we do.
Yeah, there's not really organizations that, other than the Hamsters, that there's a vetting process and people are there because they want to be there, and it's a bunch of givers, it's not a bunch of takers. There's not anything tangible that you remove out of that. It's just it's an association of men that like-minded, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot of heart in that room too. When everybody gets together, the things they do are amazing for the local charities in Sturgis and Spearfish, and just absolutely wonderful. And the cool thing that I do know is the amount of fun that goes around. Like the event in Sturgis, they have a big dinner to raise money. They do an auction, and everybody in the organization that can, in some way or another, will bring something to the table, whether they made it or they made it custom or they had it made or whatnot. And everyone in that room auctions off and purchases from one another all this stuff. And it's the excitement surrounded like months before of how do you, I don't even know how you guys can keep that under wraps like from one another, because like it's a surprise pretty much, isn't it?
Yeah, so I mean, basically it's our Christmas, right? So, you buy stuff, you're a mom, you buy stuff all year long for people, and you kind of you hoard it around the house and hide it in different places and hope that they don't find it. And then the word gets out like, hey, wait till you see what I'm bringing, wait till you see what I'm bringing. And everything gets into that room and it's around the perimeter. And it's cool because this is the first year, being that I got my shirt this year. Well, this is actually the last year that I couldn't bid on anything that was hamster insignia and
Right.
trademarked in that, right? So there's one side of the room that has things that anybody can bid on, and then there's the other side of the room that's got things. I mean, I have seen everything imaginable that you could even, if you could put one of these, if you could put a logo on it, right? I don't know if you can you see that? I think there you go. If you could put
Yeah.
that logo on it, it's on it. Like I've seen giant safes, I've seen refrigerators, I've seen um clocks, I've seen belt buckles, I've seen everything, and all that stuff goes to when we're there, everything goes to Lifescape, which is in Spearfish, or Rapid City rather. It's an actual hospital that, I mean, they do such amazing things for children and families that are in need of a little bit of scaffolding and a hand up. And then of course there's the Meals on Wheels that we've started recently in the last couple of years contributing to. We've like tripled and quadrupled the budget of the Meals on Wheels program in Deadwood. It was like a $5,000 annual budget, and the first year right off the rip, I think we took it to 16,000. And then of course there's the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum, right? And that's an important thing that
Yes.
there has to be somewhere where what you and I and Chris and Ed Kerr and Dave Perowitz and Donnie Smith and all these people, because these guys are the pioneers of our industry, and they have
Oh yeah.
all of this work, this body of work that's been done, right?
Mhm.
So like there's this constant cycle of motorcycles that go through the Sturgis Motorcycle Hall of Fame Museum and all that. And then of course there's the breakfast that happens as well. I think that's on Monday mornings, right? That happens. But
Yeah, Monday.
Sturgis was such a crazy year for me this year because I was hoping I was going to get my shirt. I got there on Friday, and after a long drive and this, that, and the other, and my wife flew in, and all these other things happened, and then it ended up it come at you like a snowstorm. It was amazing.
Right. And I have to say, like, I know I've watched a few really good friends who, we started out as colleagues in the industry, but become part of that organization. And it truly never disappoints to see, like you said, just all the camaraderie and the respect, but the body of history. I mean, Ed Kerr, like I love Ed Kerr, and one day it would be a great honor to have him on my show. But like we talk about cool old biker stuff, like Hollover Beach when he was back when his wife was alive, and nudie beaches and riding motorcycles up Daytona Beach, and crazy stuff that people don't really even believe because it happened in the 60s and the 70s, and you get that. And when you're around that, and I have to say too, I know that Chris and Heather, they are doing Meals on Wheels with Smokeout also. And Chris is also now Hamsters
Yeah,
USA.
got in last year.
So it's incredible. But yeah, I love that the Sturgis Museum is going to move forward towards more gathering more of that. Like Smith Brother and Fetro, when I was a kid, I used to have posters of Donnie Smith on my wall, like Arlen Ness, and looked up to them because they didn't really have a budget for a new bike every time. Like Arlen, he would take apart the same bike, cut some shit up, make it a little different, and then paint it a whole different scheme. But it was literally, I think, a bunch of years the same motorcycle at every show he went to, which I thought was awesome because that's where we come from.
Yeah, the industry was very different back then. When you're going through those pictures at the very beginning, there was pictures of my dad's motorcycle in the front porch of our house. We lived in Brightmoor, Michigan, which Brightmoor is just like a neighborhood in Detroit, just like how New York has different boroughs, like the Bronx and Harlem and Brooklyn and things like that. Detroit has neighborhoods, right? So the neighborhood that we lived in was a neighborhood called Brightmoor, and it was pretty biker centric. I mean, you had lots of clubhouses right there in that general area, and that my dad built that bike in our basement. The picture of all the parts on the wall that was down in the basement, and that bike I'm still searching for that bike. I actually saw that bike, Athena. The last time I saw it was in 2000 in Waterford, Michigan. It was chained to a street sign. I went back, it was gone. I know it's that bike because there's a few things that my dad did on that. Yeah, that bike there, the blue and purple one. That one right there. So that bike, that front girder, that was built by my dad and Ron Finch built that. My dad and Ron Finch stretched and raked that frame. And so the story goes, my dad built that bike. And if you look, there's a gap in between the tank and just in front of the seat where the sheet metal is.
Yeah.
So there was a show that happened every year at the state fairgrounds and down in Detroit off of Woodward Avenue, right? And it was still in Detroit, but it was on the Detroit side, and right there by Ferndale, 8 Mile, 9 Mile area. And my dad rode that bike in February in the snow from our house in Brightmoor all the way across town because we lived in the west side and that was in Central. My dad rode that bike all the way to the state fairgrounds. And then of course you had builders. You had Tony Carlini was there. Arlen Ness was there. You had Finch was there. And I don't know. I'm not able to confirm. Dave wasn't able to confirm if he was at that show. But my dad rode his bike there through the snow and had to clean it up and everything and do that whole deal. And when they classed his bike, they classed it as Radical Custom because the tank was molded to the frame.
Right.
And so my dad was a local guy in Detroit, and he obviously didn't win, right? And he was pissed. I remember my dad telling me he was pissed because I don't know if it was Carlini or Arlen Ness or somebody, but somebody had showed up with a van with a bike in the back in like milk crates. And they pulled it apart, kind of put it back together, fired it one time, and put it in and showed it in Radical Custom and won. And my dad didn't win, and so he went home. And when we went home, he cut the tank off, and that's why you see that gap there pronounced, because my dad cut the tank off so that he wasn't in Radical Custom the next time he took it to a show. But he rode that bike. He rode that bike every day. I remember laying in bed hearing my dad kickstart that bike at 6 a.m. and drive, because we moved out into the suburbs when it was time for me to go to school, as many people did back then. And my dad still worked way into the city. So my dad would drive up Grand River. We lived right off of Grand River, a couple houses. And my dad, I remember hearing that bike shift, I could hear him all the way down until he hit fourth gear, and I couldn't hear him anymore. And he'd ride that all the way into work.
That is fabulous. I love that. That means, that's when you're born into it. That's just,
I didn't have a choice. This didn't, I tried to not do it. Tried to, when you're in your teens, you kind of rebel and you don't want anything to do with what's going on. And I got into drag racing, doing outlaw street racing, and got in a lot of trouble. And that was, I finally, by the time, I was married for damn near 10 years before I was out of the trouble I had gotten into when I had stopped drag racing and stuff.
Yeah, that's what and us girls, we tough it out because we know the first 10 is like, that's the wild hair, and you get a little older, and then it's like, okay, well, let's tone it down. We're still gonna have a bunch of fun, but we're gonna do it a different way.
Yeah, we have much different. We've been married over 30 years now. This year was our 30th year, and so we've toned it down a bit.
Yeah, and you have to, and that's the thing too that a lot of people don't realize is that change is the only thing that's consistent.
It is
in the world, in relationships, all of that. It has to be, otherwise you can't grow. And
you have to let it happen too. You can't, I was talking with somebody earlier today, and I'm like, listen, there's different types of relationships. There's the seasonal relationship where you're friends with somebody for a while, and then life changes and you're not friends with them anymore. Mm-hmm. And then you have these other relationships the long-term relationships that you're going to have in your life. If you're going to keep them, they're going to have an ebb and a flow, right? Where there's going to be a point in time where you're spending a lot of time together, and there's a lot of energy being put into one, communal type activity or activities. And then, it's gonna ebb away a little bit, right? And then it's gonna come back. And those relationships are the ones that are the most meaningful, because you can have a relationship that lasts a lifetime if you allow it to ebb and flow. But people, some people, there's just a lot of people are batteries that need to be charged all the time, and the way they get charged is by pulling energy from you. And I
Right.
like to say there's two kinds of humans: faucets and drains. You just have to pick which one you want to be.
Right. And I totally and wholeheartedly agree with that. That's something too. And I guess, when you're younger, you don't really do a lot of self-reflection and get to know yourself very well. But as you grow, if change is consistent in your life and you grow, you realize that, yeah, everything has to ebb and flow. And you also have to, you have to know that your bullshit is your bullshit, and you got to own it,
Yeah.
And as long as you can own it and not expect anybody else to do anything more than own their own bullshit, everybody should be good.
Yeah, that's the only way that I've remained married as long as I am, is because my wife doesn't put up with any of my bullshit, and she calls me on all of it. And I let her. And that's
Mhm.
what you're supposed to do. The guy that was talking earlier that wrote you, like, hey, how do I
Right.
navigate these waters? It's like, well, don't talk less, do more, and and prioritize what you're going to do. You can eat an elephant by yourself if you eat it one bite at a time. You know what I mean? And so it's you just have to put one foot in front of the other and just keep moving.
Right.
Do whatever the next right thing is. Do that.
Mhm.
Just pick
Right.
that and do the easy
Right.
shit. The shit that's easy: getting up on time, showing up on time, being present and accounted for, looking the part that you want people. If you want someone to think that you're something, then look the part. Like, we should still all do that. So
Right.
do the easy shit, just get it out of the way. And then
Right.
then the hard stuff is a little less difficult, because you're not like worried about the easy shit, and whatever the next right thing is, just do that.
Right. And a lot of times too, like especially in the 40s and 50s, the generation before us, they were groomed that to be manly, you didn't, you had no emotions, you didn't do any of that. But they really messed a lot of stuff up when it came to that, because you got to be able to let shit out. Everybody is human beings, and all that nonsense, all that did was create a bunch of unstable individuals who can't express their emotions and deal with them.
And beat their kids. You know
Yeah,
what I
and
mean? Like, I don't suppress. I try not to. I try to suppress things just long enough to figure out how I really feel about them. And
right,
then once I'm ready, once I decide how I really feel about something, then that's when we're gonna have an uncomfortable conversation, or
right.
that's when I'm gonna, I try not to lose my cool anymore. I mean, that I did that all through my 40s. I mean,
Yeah, the defensive shit too doesn't work, especially with women, because we're emotional. So when you automatically raise the flag, it's like women feel like they're can't bring it to you, but really, and guys don't get that as much as women don't see it from that perspective. Like, guys feel like you're telling them that they're the bad guy, what they're doing wrong, but really you're not. You're just going to them saying, "Hey, listen." And a lot of guys are confused when you say, "Well, I want to know how you feel," like, because nobody ever asked that when they were growing up. You know what I mean? Like, how do you feel? Like, what the hell does that mean?
yeah.
So
Well, my thing on that is, it really doesn't change the outcome. How you feel
right.
doesn't change about the outcome. How you feel changes about how you view the outcome.
Hmm.
So let's get to the end of this thing. Let's fix this, and then we can talk about how we could not make this happen again. If it's a bad thing,
Right.
if it's a good
Right.
thing, let's figure out how to do more of it. Right?
Right.
Let's like, so you don't want to choke on it, but you definitely want to like reflect on it. And I
Yeah.
mean, communication is key in anything. I think
Mhm.
bad things. I have a rule that I live by: that bad things happen in life for one of three reasons. Everything. Pick any bad thing that's ever happened. It's either from ignorance, carelessness, or maliciousness. Ignorance, you
Oh
didn't know what
yeah.
was going to happen. Carelessness, you didn't care what was going to happen. Maliciousness, you knew exactly what was going to happen. You did it anyway. I don't care what it is. Pick a bad thing that's happening, and there's one of those three things happen.
That's a badass analogy. I really like that. I hope the guy who wrote in like stayed around long enough to hear that, because that is it makes sense. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I mean, that's
So
I try to, I end up living through, I think, through a variety of euphemisms, but they kind of work for me, because it helps me remember things. Like, I when I was a kid, to remember my phone number, I would have to use like some analytical way to either turn it into a sing song, or like a date, or some kind of thing like that, to remember how the
right.
numbers were structured. But now for me, is socially, and and emotionally, I come up with some sort of an anecdote that works, and that one works for many things. You know, I don't mean
Yeah,
ignorant,
that's
like you're an ignorant person. I
no,
just
no,
mean
you
you're
don't
ignorant of,
know.
you didn't know, you weren't educated in the
Right.
subject. I mean, that's truly what ignorance means, is that you were without the information that you needed. You know.
Yeah, and a lot of times too, like I was talking about, like, you know, you stay out with your buddies or you call and you say, oh, I'm coming home, and then you don't show up for hours, but you do that repeatedly. It becomes a cycle or a pattern.
It's a
Like,
problem.
okay, so yeah, like, so what would you think? But in the same regard, you know, like it matters to like own up to that shit, which I gave him kudos for that, because not a lot of times will anybody do that. But yeah, you have to work towards the course of anything that you want. Everything requires work. And I didn't get to tell him, you know, not to think about, you know, thinking that if he does the dishes, picks up his socks and all that shit, because that's the shit you do when you're single.
You're
So if
supposed to
you,
do that though. Like
right,
that's
right,
like, you know, getting an accolade for doing something you're supposed to do, that doesn't count.
that,
Like, let's not talk about
well,
that.
that
Let's
you
not,
would do if that's something you would do to live anyways. So,
hopefully, if you're not a
well,
savage.
right, or a slob,
You know what I mean?
right,
Yeah,
exactly. So you,
exactly.
yeah,
Same
so you
thing.
would hope for that, right,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, that shit.
You know, it's like
So
you don't get, it's like the guy that's like, well, I've never cheated on you. It's like, so you're not
yeah,
supposed to, stupid. You know what I mean?
right, and that doesn't
It's
mean
like,
that, you
oh,
know, you break trust, because when you don't keep your
no,
word, you break trust. It doesn't matter on which
absolutely.
end. That's how it
Do
goes.
the easy shit. Do the easy shit first. Like,
Right,
show up on time.
right. Yeah,
It's
make
easy.
it show the action. That's it
Yeah.
exactly. So I have a question.
Yeah.
The Garage Build podcast.
Yeah.
So you've been doing that since 2012,
I have.
long long before anybody really started doing that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not like, it's not a braggadocious thing to say. It's
No.
I started a podcast. It was motorcycle related. I did it for a year, and I did it to amuse myself. I did it back when I was teaching high school, and I don't know how I did it, to be honest with you, because my day started at 5 o'clock in the morning. It ended at 10 o'clock at night or better. And somehow in that amount of time, I found a way to, I was raising, you know, I was married. I was raising two kids with my wife. They were both in school in 2012 still. I was teaching high school full time. I was teaching auto
Love it.
shop. And I still had my shop full time too. So I would leave the house by 6, be back to the shop by 3:30. I would work till 6:30, 7 o'clock at the shop, go home, grade papers, have dinner with my kids, help them with their homework, pay attention to my wife, pass out at 10 o'clock, and wash, rinse, repeat, wash, rinse,
Yeah.
repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. And
Right.
the podcast thing was, I have a degree in broadcasting. That was what I went to school
Mhm.
for. I was going to be I was going to be a disc jockey, and I was for a little while.
Nice.
I was on an FM station in Muskegon, Michigan, but I lived 3.5 hours away from my girlfriend, who's now my wife. And I hadn't matured to the level where I could do that and
Mhm.
and actually be successful at it and still keep what I had going on. I'm a Midwestern kid. Like, as much as I have disdain for like mediocrity and you know, like, this is just what we do in this family kind of shit. I was an outlier in that, and I went to school to do broadcasting, had no intention of actually doing it, got a job, didn't even try to get a job. It just ended up, I was living far away, and I couldn't make it work. I couldn't make it work with my girlfriend. You know, for lots of different reasons. I didn't want to be away from her. And I wasn't with any of my friends. And I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this. And it was for like $3.85 an hour. And in that industry back then, like, every time
Right.
you got a job, your next job, you doubled your pay. So you went $3 an hour, $6 an hour,
Mhm.
$12 an hour, 24 an hour, 48. You know what I mean? And then it got to the point where you were a union scale broadcaster. But even to this day, if you look at the schedule that those guys keep,
Yeah.
I'm not down with that. And
Right.
so this was a way for me to get what I wanted to get out done. And so I just do interviews with people that I really like. And I've been doing it for a long time. And listen, there's I don't know how many episodes we're at. We're a little over 100. I don't care that it's
Right.
not 200 episodes. I don't have any junk
Right.
episodes. Everybody that I have had recording artists. I have had Major League Baseball players. I have had friends. I have had family members. I have had, you know, people that I want to talk to on that show. And I'm proud of every one of those episodes. I've had sponsors. I've not had sponsors. I've worked with people, not worked with people. And it's fun. And when it's not fun, I'm not going to do it. So, you know what I mean? And I'm not going to chase people either. Like I was telling you before we went on, when we were still backstage, that what you're doing is difficult. I know how hard it is to get a guest to agree to do it. I know how hard it is to get a guest to show up on time. I'll never forget when I first started doing that podcast. I talked to Darren Williams from Liquid Illusions, right?
Okay. I know Darren.
Good friend of mine, one of my favorite painters. He painted a bunch of bikes for us. And he was like, well, what are we going to do? And I said, we're going to podcast. He said, well, what is that? I'm like, well, I'm going to interview you. So about what? I'm like, listen, we'll have a conversation and I'm going to record it and I'm going to put it out. And he says, well, how long of a conversation? I'm like, it's going to be like an hour. He goes, we're going to talk for an hour. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to talk for an hour. And everybody says that. And then, an hour and 10 minutes into it, I'm like, there we go. We're done. He's like, holy shit, that went fast. So, but I've had Jeff Cochran. I've had Xavier Muriel. I've had, countless people on there and all the conversations were organic. And we talked about things that I think people are interested in,
Right. And that's the thing too, is doing it because you enjoy it. That's why I do this show. Same thing. Growing up here in Florida, we always had this radio station and they always had DJs after, midnight. And they never had any really cool, sultry voiced women on the radio. So when I was a kid, I always thought I'd have my own show, Athena After Dark. I'd be on the radio, be a disc jockey, and I could talk like, what's her name? We grew up listening to Delilah. Not kind of mushy, not mushy love song shit, but more like sarcastic, like, hey, so, and that's how it is. You end up doing your own thing. This is how this kind of came to pass. I was like, I'm going to do that. I always wanted to do that. So, and I love the guests too. Same thing. I love sharing everybody with the community.
It's fun because you get into a conversation and, we're one of the top 5% downloaded podcasts on Spotify worldwide. I mean, so
I love it.
I don't have a billion episodes. I don't have any junk episodes as far as I think. And I always get good feedback. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's funny that the feedback that I've gotten the most positive is when I've done them by myself and talked about business. That is, and I feel really like I have to get into a zone to be able to talk about that in a manner in which I feel like I'm being authoritative because, man, my business is just as much of a shit show as anybody else's business is at times. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so you kind of have to peel back the layer of the onion and go, listen, this is what I did and it didn't work well. Or, if you want to do something, you need to do this. And I like helping people be successful though. I really enjoy that. Like I love having a good business conversation.
And see, that's the thing too. That's probably why I get feedback, because your general demeanor isn't, as much as you speak authoritatively about something that you know a lot about, it doesn't come off as, you got to do this. They take it for a real experience and respect it and the tone and manner that you present it. So that matters. Like you said earlier, if you want to be that, show up, be that person you want people to see you as. That's how it is. So
just for the job you want.
Yep. So you ready for some questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we're going to start out with our little just for fun questions. Dogs or cats?
Oh, dogs.
Dogs. Big ones or little ones? Or all?
I have one of each. I mean, honestly, right now in my life, I wish I had two little ones instead of a big one and a little one, but I love my dogs. I mean, I'm a dog person. I'll overlook dogs having flaws.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Apples or oranges?
Oranges.
Oranges. Is that because we're in Florida, or is that just
no?
genuinely?
I find them to be they're sweet.
They are sweet.
The apples are bitter.
Yeah, I guess I just recently found out that there's like 40,000 different types of apples.
Yeah, I mean, there's many different apples, but yeah, I mean, if you're gonna put in front of them, both of them, even a nice sweet Granny Smith, I'm still gonna go for the orange.
I love it. That's awesome. Okay, hotel or camping?
Hotel. I'm not camping at all. Nothing. I'm not. I've done that. When you were talking about the smoke out, and when Evan and I, my former business partner, the one that was in the picture of me, the black and white where we're throwing up the
right
west side. we went to smoke. We didn't have any money when we started in this business. We were flat fucking broke. And we went to the smokeout and slept on, there was a pavilion behind the Holiday Inn. I slept on one of the rails of the picnic table, and Evan slept on the top of the picnic table for 2 days.
How the hell did you get any sleep? Because that place was like
we were in our, Evan was in his early 20s. I was in my early 30s. We didn't care about that.
You didn't care about sleep. Right.
We weren't going there to sleep. We were going there to party.
That's funny. That's too funny. Okay, so slow or fast?
Depends on what we're doing.
That's a good.
You know what I mean? I'm not. I don't do anything fast. I would say I don't do anything fast. Nothing.
Okay.
I just.
All right,
I got my own speed.
Go your own speed. I like that.
Yep.
So breaking or making?
Making.
Making.
Yeah, I like to make things, fix things.
I like that. Okay, sunshine or moonshine?
Honestly, if a moonshine, if I had to, if you could tell me like whatever one you pick, you can't see the other one. I'm a night. I'm more. I can make myself more comfortable at night.
Okay. All right. I like that.
I love it at the end of the day, at the end of a long day of like riding, drinking, partying, whatever. My favorite group at that point aren't the people who are out during the day. I like the guys who sit around in that small circle at the end of the night. Yeah. That's where you're going to learn something. You ain't going to learn shit during the day.
That's right. And you got to be able to make it to that small circle at the end of the night. Yeah. Pace yourself. That's how that goes. Right. Okay. So if you had to pick, I know nobody can ever pick, but what would be your favorite song?
Okay. So I depends on what I'm doing.
Okay.
I have songs for, so like right off the rip, Abacab from Genesis. Like,
okay.
To me, like I like metal, I like rap, I like, I have like my 5 deserted my deserted island albums, the whole deal. But if there's a song that no matter when you put it on, I would crank it all the way up as Abacab from Genesis, the long version, like the 6 minute 48-second one.
Okay, I like that. The Genesis is that's talent, like beyond ridiculous. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so then what would be your favorite road food?
Believe it or not, when I'm on the road, I don't eat a lot. Twizzlers, but not regular Twizzlers. The peel and eats that look like noodles, and you have to peel the noodles off. They look like spaghetti noodles. Peel and eat Twizzlers. That's my favorite. That's my jam on the road.
Okay.
I don't eat those at home, but on the road, I'll eat that. I'll eat those.
I like that. I absolutely love it. Okay. If you were a superhero, who would you be?
It would be Batman.
Batman. Oh,
yeah, I've been Batman. Yeah, forever.
I can see that. I definitely can see that. All right. If you were a cocktail or a mixed drink, what would you be?
Whiskey sour.
Whiskey sour.
So here's my theory on that.
Okay.
It's still a masculine drink, but you can only have 1 or 2 of them. You ain't drinking You ain't drinking whiskey sours all night because they're sweet, but they're sour, and there's whiskey in it. You know what I mean? Like that's you're gonna have 1 or 2 of those tops, and that's it. That's all you're gonna do. So, and I think I'm a lot for people to take. I think people either. I've noticed in my lifetime that people either gravitate towards me or I repel them like magnets that are polarized the same way. And they don't want any, they don't hate me. They don't say anything shit about me, but they just would rather not be around me. Cause I say irreverent things. I'm very self-important.
Hey, at least you know it though. My dad always used to say, everyone's a legend in their own mind.
Yes.
That's how that goes, especially when you add alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
That's how that goes for sure. Okay, so now we'll get on with some real questions. Obviously, kind of a redundant question because we already got some of the answer, but how you got into motorcycles was obviously.
Well, I'll tell you here's the real story. So I grew up in a household where my dad was a custom builder in the 70s. That's what he did. He always wanted to have a bike shop. in 2000, I ran a company called Livernois Vehicle Development, Livernois Motorsports, right? We had a Pro 50, we had a pro stock team. Chris Holbrook was the 1999 Pro Stock World Champion for IHRA. I went over to his house one day to see his new Pro Stock car, and in the corner was a shovelhead, a 72 shovelhead, a blue and white one. And I was like, "Whose is that?" And he's like, "That's mine." I'm like, "What do you? Why do you?" It doesn't fit at all. And he's like, I bought it in a basket just to see if I could put it back together. And I put it back together, and I've never ridden it. And I said, well, if you ever want to sell it, let me know, because I'll buy it. And at this time, my dad had not had a bike at the moment. So a couple weeks later, I'm having lunch with Chris because we worked together, and he was telling me this guy coming over tonight to buy my Harley. I was like, hey, wait a minute. I had dibs on that. He goes, yeah. Well, and I said, what is he giving you? He says he's giving me 5. And so I made him an offer, and he took it. And so I took my dad over that night, and I was like, hey, I want you to come see Chris's car. So we went over. We're in this garage, a small 1.5 car garage, if you can imagine this, with $150,000 Pro Stock IHRA car in it, right, with an 800-inch mountain motor. And I'm trying to show my dad. We're trying to show my dad the Pro Stock, and the whole time my dad's eyeing this shovelhead in the corner. Well, right. I walk over there. I'm like, hey, you like it? Blah 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 blah. Yeah. He loves it. It's cool. And I said, well, it's yours. And I bought it for my dad. Right. That was in 2000. So my dad has this bike. He's riding again. Finally, he was off 2 wheels for a minute. He calls me. He goes to Daytona Bike Week in 2003, and he calls me, and he's like, you won't believe this. This is like, he had never been to Daytona. He's like, this thing's unbelievable. And he's kind of telling me all these things. So while he was gone, I went to the Harley dealership and bought a Harley. I was done. In my head, I was done drag racing. I had enough. I had a 10.5 Outlaw car. I had spent enough money. When you have a race car, it sits in your garage unless you take it to the track. And then you bring it right back and you put it in your garage. Well, a motorcycle was something that I could take it apart, put it back together, ride it, take it apart, put it back together, ride it. I could ride it anywhere as far as my ass would let me go until you know what I mean? So I bought this bike, and my dad and I became best friends. And within 1 year, I hadn't even owned a bike for a year. And my dad decided, I got him talked into, he retired. We opened up JR Cycle Works December 1st of 2003. And that was it. That was how I got it. How I got into motorcycles was that. I mean, I was always around them. I love choppers, like high neck choppers. That's my jam. But my dad, that's how I got into it, was finally in 2003. And then I started getting tattoos and doing bad things. And
I love it. And I'm a shovelhead girl, so I understand the great fond appreciation.
And here's the cool thing, that shovelhead, when I bought my bike, I told my dad, I'm like, listen, you got to get rid of this bike because we're going to start riding far. So my dad went and bought a 2000 dresser, which I have still in the back. And he sold that 72 shovelhead dresser to my uncle in Alabama, who gave it to me in 2016 in exchange for me building him a Triumph, which I did.
Nice.
I had that shovelhead for a while, and I never did anything with it. I rode it twice, and now it's still in Florida, but it's in Warren Lane's collection, and so I know it's in a good place. Like Warren Lane has my dad's bike, and Warren will never change it. I mean, it'll be taken care of. It'll be perfect the way it was. It'll never wear.
Yeah, Warren's a good egg. I've known Warren a long time. So, wow,
Warren's a very good friend.
Yeah, he's South Beach days, back before when Billy was still in college and the parents had the shop, and all that burnt BLTs at 4 a.m. after the bar. I was always the cook. Yeah, everybody crashed out. I'd get up and take the kids to school, and my son would be like, "Mom," and I'd be like, "Yeah," and there'd be like 5 or 6 guys on the living room floor. Like, that's better safe there. You feed them all, they sleep it off, and they go home the next day. They're fine. I still have to get up at freaking 6:30 and get everybody dressed and moving. It's all good. It's what we do. So.
Right.
All right. So who would you consider your childhood hero?
Well, I don't think it's fair to say there would be, Batman, but my dad. Like when everything's said and done, because my dad adopted me. You know what I mean? So he didn't have to, and so he's always been there since jump. I was 6 months old when he started taking care of me, and it's never changed. So
Wow. How cool is that?
Yeah,
That's
my dad was a neat guy. My mom and dad were together from 65 to 70. My dad went over to Vietnam, and they broke up while he was gone. She got married while he was gone to my biological dad, who I don't have, she was married to him, but I don't remember. I don't have any real recollection of him. My dad never stopped being in love with my mom. Came to the hospital when I was born because my biological father wasn't a very good
wasn't
guy,
there. Right.
and wasn't very present, and tried to get her to leave and all, and she wouldn't leave my biological father because I had just been born, and 6 months later, um, well, I was a year. It was before I was a year old. It was my first Christmas. My mom took me, and we headed out, and within a couple of months, my dad was in the picture. So
How cool is
yeah, he's a
that?
cool dude.
That's fabulous. That is fabulous. And he's not with us anymore?
No, I lost him. It'll be 6 years on September 3rd. So
Yeah, I lost my dad in 15, and I know that's when they're your partners like that, it's
yeah,
but
it's life changing, right? Here's how I
yeah,
get through it, and now I'll tell anybody this. I pretend that my dad is in the other room. No matter what room I go into, my dad's in the other room, right? And so I don't I I'm thankful for the times that he comes up into my mind and I start crying, but I'm thankful for those times, right? Because it meant something. So
yeah. And I've gotten to a point, I still have moments where I'll break down, but for the most part, when I have a thought, it brings a smile to my face, which I never thought would happen.
yeah,
And
I
then
think the Pink Floyd song "Wish You Were Here." I
yeah,
will tell you right now that that song comes on in the absolute most. It's just I don't know how to explain it, but when I hear that song, everybody in my family knows that's his song. That's we think of him,
right.
and it just pop. It'll be the weirdest thing. Will be going on. We're all together, and all of a sudden that song comes on. It's like so.
My dad always had feathers, and shit'll be going good, go bad, go whatever, and you'll walk, like, even in the shop, I'll walk past a door, I'll turn around, dump something outside, come right back in, and on the shop floor there's a feather that wasn't there, and I
Yep.
just know, I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, I
Yep.
got you. So,
Exactly.
and we're lucky that we can. A lot of people don't pay attention to that,
No.
so that's cool. Okay, so motorcycle hero.
Um. So my motorcycle hero, if I had to pick like the guy that besides my dad,
Hmm.
um, it's a tough one, but I'll tell you, I think the guy that built the greatest bikes, um, would probably be Warren Lane. Like,
Okay.
if I could, if like a lottery bike, like if I'm
Hmm.
looking at somebody, I mean, there's so many heroes in the motorcycle industry that you could pick for different reasons. I mean, Dave obviously for his paint work,
Right. Of
Arlen
course.
obviously for his business acumen and his parts line and all those things, and what a gentleman he was. The times that I got to meet him.
Oh yeah.
Um, but if you look at like a body of work, you
Hmm.
can't buy a bike built by Warren.
No.
You get a bike built by Warren, but
Hmm.
if you get it, it's because he wants you to have it. And so, and
Right.
I love his craftsmanship. You know,
And always, even going back years, because Don and I will be married 20 years on Wednesday, but we
congrats.
were we were best friends for 12 years. We worked in motorcycle shops together, and Warren, like I said, he worked with Woody, and I used to bring cookies to Woody's shop. His wife Jenny would be in the office, and I would bring cookies because I didn't have a lift. I didn't have a toolbox, but I always worked on my own stuff. So he would let me come in. I'd bring cookies, and I'd get, like, an hour over on this lift, or maybe I could use it for a day if I need to tear something apart. And he was always answering my questions, but he didn't, like, you know, get right in on
Not
top. He'd
for
be
you,
like,
right? Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, Warren's always been like Don. The details. Every nut is facing the same direction. It's all clean lines, wired correctly. It's not a bunch of mishmash. And for me, that's another thing that I do. Like, when I build a bike at the shows, I take the seat off, because usually that's where everybody hides their shit.
Right.
Not me. I love that. I'm like, yeah, no, clean, serene, not doing it. But
Yep.
I learned that from, watching Don and Warren.
And it's not to take anything away from any of the other heroes that I have. I'm
Right.
just saying, like, I have a good friendship with Warren, and it he wants to he's very benevolent with his knowledge if you're going to listen to what he has to say and take it in, and he's not going to give you some bullshit. He's
straight up.
Yeah.
He definitely is straight up. And I could tell you, here in South Florida, Warren, we go back a long time, but Warren knew everybody. You couldn't go anywhere where he didn't know anybody, and they liked him and they respected him, and they always had the door open for him. So, and I saw him last year at Smokeout, and it was nice because we got to catch up. You don't get to see, and that's what we were talking about, friends. That's how you know you're friends, because you can not see each other for a year and not miss a beat, and it's like you hadn't.
It's the ebb and flow that I talk about.
Yep, exactly that. Okay, so what would you say your biggest challenge in motorcycling has been?
Well, if you're talking from because I know that not everybody that you have in here is an industry person.
Right.
Mine is still doing my day-to-day job and still trying to incorporate what I got into this for. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, the love of motorcycling.
I love the process. Like, when I get done with something, like when I get done with a project, when I got done with my race car, I was kind of done with it. I made a couple passes and did some racing and stuff like that. But the racing wasn't what drew me to doing it. It was the process of building the car. So the process of building the motorcycle is what I enjoy. When a motorcycle's done, it's great. It's fine. But I'm literally, I'm done with that. It's like that item isn't, I've completely feigned any work on. I don't like to do things twice. Right. So,
right.
I have to be very careful because I love the process so much. So I take a long time to do shit, and that people don't understand that, especially people who don't know how to do what I know how to do. Everybody's, and I will say this, like I've said this 100 times. People think that what I do for a living is easy because they've seen somebody do it, but it's not. It's not. If you're going to do it at a level that you want to do it at, because I don't give a shit how long something takes, and I really don't care about somebody that isn't in the industry's opinion. Right. I play to the back of the room. Do you know what that means?
Yeah.
I care that you and I are friends. I care that I'm friends with Matt Smith. I care that I'm friends with Dave Perowitz. I don't dislike anybody who's not in the industry, but their opinion of how long I take to do something isn't valid to me, because especially if they're having me do it, like, trust the process, enjoy the process, let the process come to fruition. Because if I'm building a bike for you, I am going to take 2 years. It's because I can't charge you enough to, I can't charge you enough to pay all my bills and only do the bike.
Exactly. And that's the process. But people don't understand that because of television shows that they built them in 10 days, but they didn't see the 3 months worth of prep that went into it. And it was a rush job, or the thing where they come to the shop and it's like, well, what do you mean that's 2 hours? I watched them do it on YouTube in 10 minutes.
You're not paying for the 10 minutes. You're paying for the 20 years that it took me to learn to do it in 10 minutes.
And the whole process that they edited out, the prep time, the disassemble and the prep time. Yeah, you saw them do the actually. So I have a sign that I bought a sticker for one of the guys that for Ray. He's a painter in Daytona, but his buddy, it says, "We're not YouTube certified mechanics here." And I tell everybody that, like, I don't want to hear that go away. Yeah. But yeah, it is a process. And I always say, like, especially now with the builds, we used to do custom builds. Somebody would want to contract us to do it. And we still do them occasionally because that's more my thing. But my goal is to build what I want. And then if someone wants to purchase it,
then they can buy it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to commission something, and I've got 4 going right now, but they all know, like, the quickest way to get me to not do something is to put some sort of weird existential pressure on me, or some weird, some date on it. It's like, listen, I probably shouldn't say this publicly, but there have been a couple, not many, where I've just pushed the stuff outside and tell them to come get it. Like I structure things to where I can do that. And
Right.
I don't care. If you want me to do it, then leave me alone and let me do it. And
Mhm.
I'm not better than anybody by any stretch
No.
of the imagination. If anything, I'm not as good as some people in my peer group, but I played at the back of the room, and it means a lot to me that that I'm welcome in almost every room
Great.
in the industry, regardless of
Mhm.
what's going on. I don't have to be vetted anymore. I don't have
Right.
to have a hello, my name is tag on me anymore. People know who I am, and
Mhm.
that's not a braggadocious thing. That just means
No.
that I've made sure that when I went into a room that I was not the smartest person in the room, that I lit the room up somewhere, and that I took something positive away from that experience and made sure that somebody remembered who I was. And if I
Right.
hadn't done that, I wouldn't be allowed to be on shows like this. I wouldn't be allowed to wear this shirt. I mean, that's literally there's 375 members of the Hamsters that any one of those individuals could have stood up and said, "Hey, this guy's not this we
Right.
can't have this guy in here." And
Right.
I wouldn't be there. And so again, that's not bragging. That's just saying like, I've worked hard to have a good reputation. There's not a customer on the planet that can say that screwed me or that I've
Mhm.
screwed rather. I
Right.
don't do that. I don't do that. And so that's the thing I can hang my hat on.
I love that too. And the deadlines I learned actually recently. We push for our own projects. We'll push for a show. We'll push, push, push. But when it comes to customer stuff, I recently learned, which is something I didn't do for a long time, let them tell me, oh, I want to be at this show. Because as soon as you put a date on it, some shit goes awry.
Sure.
Somebody's got an attitude, or if they feel like you pulled the rug out from under them, and then you feel like it's an epic fail because you let somebody down. It's like, yeah, like I said, I prefer to build, and then if somebody wants it, cool.
Yeah,
So,
there's something special about being here, getting ready for a show where the sun comes up and that metal taste in your mouth because you've been up for
yep.
24 hours. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And you're done with the
Yes.
Gatorade, you're done with the coffee, you've had the Red Bulls and all that stuff.
Right.
I don't I want to limit how many times I do that,
Yes.
but nobody remembers that time we went and did that thing that nothing happened. Like everybody, I try to, condition myself to like, hey, let's do 90% of prep and 10% of tough things that are going to,
Yeah, that's how
again,
we
going back to what I said earlier, do the easy shit, get the easy shit out of the
yep.
way. So like I'm teaching my son-in-law right now a little bit. He's doing it on his own. He's builder for the amateur chop off that Chris and Heather are
Oh
doing.
yeah.
Right.
Cool.
So, and I am purposely pulling back from that on a day-to-day basis and saying, hey, look, this is what I think you need to do. And if he doesn't do it, then that's on him. I
Mhm.
know that when push comes to shove, that we'll probably be here and the sun will come up and I'll have that metal taste in my mouth again from being up for 24 hours. But it'll be for a good cause, and it'll you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's a
Yeah,
learning
it won't
thing.
yeah, it won't be for you because you've already had it. You're gonna allow him the experience of
Yeah,
having that.
listen, I'm telling you right now, I'm building bikes for myself right now. That's the first time I built a bike for myself since 2008. Okay. I
Nice.
haven't built a bike for myself from the ground up since 2008. I have two going together right now. One that'll be ready for the high seas because it's going on the boat on display. And then
Love
my
it.
chopper will be done for Daytona. And when they get done, they get done. I'm
Right.
not staying up over. I don't, every time I walk by that bike, Athena, I put one part on it. Doesn't matter
Right.
if I stick a well nut into
Uh-huh.
where the plate goes to the FXR. If I just do that every time I go by,
Right.
then I've made progress, right? I'm doing the easy stuff. Get the easy shit out of the way. Just do that. Just do that
Yep.
because the hard stuff's coming.
I love it. I love that mentality too. That's so it's that's why certain people will gravitate towards you because they feel that energy. I get that from you. I've always gotten that from you. So I get that. I do. I absolutely admire and respect that about you for sure. I love that whole analogy too because it means something. Okay, so what's your favorite motorcycle?
Um, so like that's ever been built, or like what kind of motorcycle?
You pick.
I mean, I think the best custom motorcycle that's ever been built is El Rey by Warren Lane.
Mhm.
My favorite kind of motorcycle, I love a 2 up, 2 out, 38 degrees of rake, rigid chopper with a Evo, a big
I love
Evo.
it.
Yeah,
Big
5-speed, big Evo, 2-inch belt drive primary.
Evo.
Just like really light, really obnoxious, really loud. Like I love rigid choppers. That's like I love that shit.
I grew up on that. My shovel head is the first. It's the not only is it the first set of shocks I've ever had, it's also the first hand clutch I've ever had. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love
It's
I love FXRs too to death. I mean, I'm an FXR guy. I'm part of the FXR community. You know, I go to
right.
the FXR show in Sturgis and do a pick and all that stuff. But you know, I mean, I'm a chopper kid at heart. Like me,
It's where we come from.
Callan, you know, that whole group of us, you know, that 20 years ago that were all jitterbugs in this.
Yeah.
Me, Callan, Pat from Lead Sled,
Yep.
Paul at Bare Knuckle Choppers, Darren
Yep.
from Liquid Illusions, like that whole group of us,
Chop
Cody
docs.
Service.
Yeah, all those
Yeah,
guys.
we were just just bananas about that stuff.
I love that. That's fabulous. And I love too the history with Ron Finch. You know, my son is the only honorary Finchman since 1969. I'll tell you that's another story. I'll tell you all about that another time, but you'd love to hear that one for sure. Okay, so what's your favorite route that you've ever ridden on a motorcycle?
When Evan and I used to go up north to my cottage, my father-in-law would always race and go up US 23 to 75 and then over to Standish in Michigan, right? Because that's where I grew up.
Okay, right.
And Evan and I would always we would go through we'd go up Telegraph and Woodward, and we'd go past all these dairy farms, and it would take us 8 hours to get somewhere that would normally take 3. And that was my favorite route because we'd go either in the late spring or the early fall. And so it was always cool. Sometimes it would rain a little bit, but it was, I don't know, that was just that route that we would go every year was those were meaningful rides. We didn't know what was going to happen, but that was a long enough ride to where I counted, 8 hours is a long enough ride to go in one go. And we had fun with that. I miss that. I miss that.
Yeah, we don't get that in Florida.
Right.
There's not that Midwestern vibe or even routes and things like that for sure. All right, so what would be your favorite event or rally?
So I always tell people that Daytona, and here's why. Coming up in the Midwest, we were ready to kill somebody by the time March got there because we were so stuck indoors. So we would come down to Daytona, and said all the guys I mentioned before, Main Street would be just rammed with people. Destination hadn't happened yet, and you get to see Billy on Main Street. You'd see Larry on Main Street. You wouldn't see. I never saw Jesse on Main Street, but I see Bill Dodge and Jesse Rook and that group of
Roland Sands,
and Carrie Hart and Russell from Exile. So
Exile.
me,
I love Russell.
That really just galvanized Daytona. And I love when the ground gets sticky. I love the smell of Daytona. It's bumming me out that they're gentrifying it. I just think Daytona should stay sketchy forever. I love getting a hotel on the ocean, some shitty hotel, the Sea Breeze or whatever it is there, and all you're doing is sleeping there anyways. It looks like someone was cooking meth in it the week before, but you can hear I absolutely, I'm not like swimming in the ocean, but I love nothing more than to be
sound. I love the sound.
I love the sound of the water crashing in and the air. I love the salt in the air. I just love it all.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm not, I'll go in the ocean with the kids occasionally, but I don't like sharks. So
I'm out.
I'm a Jaws baby too. Like at 7, my parents took me to the movie theater because they didn't have a babysitter. So I like a concrete pond like the Beverly Hills Hillbillies. I'm good with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so what's the most fun you've ever had on a motorcycle?
The most fun I've ever had on a motorcycle was riding. We went to the No Love Party in 2007. Karen and I did, and we had the West Coast Chopper, and I drove out there. She flew out. The bike wasn't painted yet, and we ripped from Long Beach down with Jesse when he was married to Sandra, and about 75 other bikes at well over 100 miles an hour on a rigid chopper on the 405 or the
Oh, I love
510 or
it.
whatever, all the way down to Neptune's Net. Had lunch, and then ripped back to the shop.
And
to
the
Boulevard.
405 is like, that's like 5 or 6 lanes across, and it goes
It
like
was
this and all around.
bananas. There
And they're
was so
doing
many
like
big
90 miles an
potholes.
hour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were ripping because you had to keep up with Jesse. He had a turbo road glide at the time, and I didn't know where the hell I was at. There was pre-GPS on a chopper, so I was just
Right.
hauling ass, keeping in time with everybody else. And Karen was just hanging on to the back. I didn't have pegs on the back, so she would just wrap her legs around me, and that was the most. That was the most visceral thing I'd ever done on a motorcycle.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, so then what would you say your craziest roadside breakdown story is? You or somebody else you've been with?
It's actually, for me, I don't have one. I've never been in that, like, I don't, if something breaks down and I can't just fix it, we're just going to put it in a trailer or push it. Like I'm not that guy. I'm not wired that way. But my favorite breakdown story involves Roadside Marty and Eric Allard.
Oh shit, I gotta hear.
And so Roadside was riding with Eric, and something failed on, I think it was on Roadside's bike, and Roadside was pretty upset about it. And they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And Eric just, if you know Eric, he's so chill.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh man, Roadside, that's just all part of the process." And so, you know what I mean? Like, that's just part of it. And I think that is part of it, is that you just have to accept what happens,
Yeah.
But I'm not a high mileage guy. I've ridden across the country, across this side of the country a couple times, around on choppers and stuff. But I don't have the time to do that you used to. In your 30s, you just made it happen.
Right.
Yeah, you're not making that. I'm not making that happen right now. I'm going to be real honest with you. If I love people like you. Are you going to ride to Sturgis? I'm like, no. Not right now. Not on that. Not.
I wish I had time.
I will at some point in time when I have the time. But right now, I like sitting in the air conditioning on my iPad, just looking at Instagram. While someone else.
Right.
It's a 36-hour drive. You know what I mean?
It is. And unless you're gonna do it, like we did Fairbanks, Alaska. I ended up going back to Key West, but that was like 7 weeks, and you have to take the time. You know what I mean? So you get to enjoy it. Just busting ass 3 days straight to get to Sturgis to go watch everybody do the same shit all the time. I mean, not in a bad way, but you know what I mean. Like, you got all the drinkers and the.
Well, here's my quick story that I told you about going up when you asked me what my favorite ride on a motorcycle was. It was going up through the thumb of Michigan and going all the way to the cottage, right? So my father-in-law would always leave the same time as us, and he would be pissed that we were going to go up the back roads. And he's like, let's just get on 75 and get up there, right? So we would take 8 hours to get up there. We get there, and he's got the fire going and everything. He's like, I just don't understand why you guys, I was up here in 2.5 hours. I don't understand why you guys don't. And I'm like, hey man, why are you in such a hurry to get up here? And he goes, well, I want to get up here and ride. And I'm like, well, how about if we just make the ride up here the ride?
Yeah.
And then now we're here, and I can just look at that fire, and I can drink a couple beers, and I can relax, and I don't have to, you know what I mean? Like, that's just my mentality. I like the process of things. Yeah. I'm a waiter. Like, it pisses me off when someone says, oh my God, I got you the best Christmas gift. It was, and I'm like, no, stop. I don't want to be surprised. You know what I mean? I hate opening something. I'm like, oh, gee, this is a nice sweater that I didn't already see, Right.
And I'm the girl that I love the gifts and stuff like that. But like at 12:01 on Christmas Eve, you gotta open it. I can't wait any longer. I've
no, not me. I love to wait.
6 months.
I love waiting. I open the presents real slow.
I'm all about the paper.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good thing though. That's how everybody counterbalances each other. That's why we're all good together when we do stuff. That's why. Yeah. Okay. So what would you say your most cherished motorcycle memory would be?
I'll tell you, it's a funny one. Okay. So I told you I bought a motorcycle in early 2003. My dad was in Daytona. I went and bought a Sportster. It was what I wanted, what I thought I could afford, what I thought that's the bike I should have got. I probably should have bought a Dyna, but I didn't. And back then in 03, Harleys were still expensive and they were still kind of scarce, right? You could go to the dealer and buy something, but you couldn't get whatever you wanted.
Right.
So I actually bought that bike in March. I sold it in October for $3,000 more than I paid for it. That'll never happen for as long as we all live anymore.
Right.
So I sold the bike for 10 grand and I wanted a big twin. And I found this big twin way up north in Michigan for $10,000. It was a 1991 FLHS. I think I have a picture of it down here. And it was an absolute piece of shit. But back then, 10 grand for a Harley for a big twin was, I mean, that was cheap money.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, 10 grand was a lot of money, but you weren't getting a big twin for less.
Right.
Than, you know?
Right.
So my aunt says, look, why don't you guys ride up? And you guys all ride up together with Uncle Tim and you and everybody. You guys all just ride up and then you could ride your new bike back. And I was like, how am I going to get up there? It's a motorcycle. How am I going to get up there? And she says, well, just ride on the back of your dad's motorcycle. I'm like, I'm not riding on the back of my dad's motorcycle for 8 hours going up there. She's like, why? Why do you care? Just everybody rides up there. You ride on the back of your dad's motorcycle. And then you're just riding up there. You know, it doesn't mean anything. It's your dad. So I was like, so my dad says, let's just do this. So it was on the 2000 dresser that I have now, the Ultra Classic. Okay. So we get on the bike and he puts the little communicators that had the little thing on it. And so we're in my driveway and he's like, are you ready? I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. So we pull out of the driveway. My wife is standing at the end of the driveway. We pull down to the end of the street and I go, hey, I forgot to grab my plate. We got to grab my plate. He goes, okay, let me turn around. He starts to turn around. And as he turns around, the bike just starts falling. And I hear him go, oh. And then the bike hits the ground. I hear my dad, who is a human being. He hits the ground and I hear, ugh. And then I still have the communicator on him. I fall on top of him and I hear, okay, get up. And we're trying to lift this bike up, the two of us, while we got curly cords hooked to the goddamn motorcycle. And we're lifting and trying to get it. And he's pulling the wrong way and I'm pulling the other way. And he's like, okay, stop, goddammit. And we get it up there. We finally get the motorcycle standing up. And some guy pulls up next to us. He goes, is everybody okay? Like, yeah. Does anything hurt? Like, it's just our pride. So then we get back on the motorcycle, go back to the house. I get my plate. Karen is mortified. She's laughing her ass off.
Yeah.
So we leave. And so now I'm not happy. I'm kind of pissed. I'm on the back of my dad's motorcycle. And I swear to God, there's a group of us, like 6 of us. I'm sitting on the back of my dad's Ultra Classic. And rather than have my legs on his back, I'm sitting side saddle in the back of this electric glide like this with a curly cord on like this. And my feet are on the saddlebags on the side. And my dad had a ponytail. And it's... And I'm like, hey, like, what the hell's going on with your hair? He's like, well, normally your mom will braid my hair while we're back there. I'm like, I'm not braiding your goddamn hair, Dad. It's not happening. And so he just thought it was the funniest thing ever. And riding, and every once in a while he would reach back and he would grab my leg and squeeze my leg. And it was that memory will stick with me for as long as I live, that me sitting side saddle on the back of my dad's bike.
I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Matt Smith, we see you. Cheryl, Miss Cheryl O'Brien, we see you. Terry Wolf, Conrad, all of you watching. I'm so sorry I wasn't watching the comments. I'm just, as you can tell, absolutely entertained here. This is so, that has to be one of the best stories I have ever heard to answer that question. I swear. That's fabulous. I love that. Thank you. I needed that good laugh too. And it's always, dad stories are always good. You know what I mean? Because, yeah, the only thing's hurt is our pride. I love that. That's fabulous. So if you could go back and tell your 25-year-old self something, what would that be?
Don't spend any more money on drag racing. Just go ahead and get yourself a Harley now. because I would have started. I mean, I'd always wanted to have my, I've always wanted to have uh, uh, a business, right? And I thought in my head I was going to start a company that wiring race cars. Like that was my kind of my kink, is I was good at wiring cars, and I fell into this and just kind of gravitated right towards it, and if I would have wanted to buy a bike earlier on.
I love that. That's a fabulous that's a good thing too, because like, especially at that age, a lot of us were skeptical. So about certain things, if we make the right choices. So it's always nice when doing something like this, whoever's watching, if they're at that age or there's something they can take away from it, that's one of the best things. No matter what, just buy the motorcycle.
I see
Just buy the motorcycle.
a question over in the comments. I got, what was the first mod that I did? I bought on my Sportster, I bought a pair of these chrome. They were metal grips. They were chrome, but they had flames engraved in them. And I put grips on my bike, and I dropped I didn't know how the throttle thing worked. And I dropped the little brass thing on the fucking ground, and I don't know,
Oh
it
my gosh.
evaporated. So I had to call a friend who had a Harley. And I'm like, hey, I'm trying to do grips on this thing, and I lost the little, the thing. And he goes, the little ferrule. I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, I got some. Come over. So to put my
Right.
grip on, I had to go drive to someone's house because I lost that little brass piece.
That is too funny. And not for anything, like the little ferrules and the Jesus clips.
Yeah.
Those things are, it's just inevitably it's crazy. That's funny. I love it. So, okay. We only have a couple more here. I'm so grateful for you staying awake and doing this with us. If money and time didn't matter and you could take a trip on your motorcycle anywhere.
Europe.
Okay. And who would you take with you?
Mike Powell, TikTok, my buddy. So
Okay.
I have like a circle of about 4 friends, but TikTok is he and I, we met at 07 at the NLP party. He lives in England. My wife and his wife are best friends. Our
Nice.
daughters are best friends. His son and my daughter, like their first kiss was the whole, I mean, like our families are so
Aww.
integral with each other, and we're so like, we're going there in a couple weeks. I was just there a few weeks ago. I mean, we're super tight, and so I built him a Softail. That's what the plan was. That Softail was going to go. We were going to ride bikes across Europe, and I think we'll be able to do it. I mean, we're much older now. We've been friends since 07, so it's almost 15 years. It might even be 15 years that we've been friends that tight, but yeah, like at some point in time, we're going to do that.
That's fabulous. I love that. I look forward to seeing stories about that and hearing all about it, because those are the best ones. Okay, so if you wouldn't mind, would you tell us something about yourself that most people wouldn't know?
I'm insanely insecure about my position in any given situation, in a social situation. I don't have, like, I know I'm intelligent. I know I can learn. I know I'm articulate. I know I can get a point across, but I'm painfully, I'm not painfully shy, but I'm painfully, like, not in, well, I don't know what the right, insecure in that.
Reserved, more
Yeah,
reserved.
I don't ever want to do anything that just eliminates me from contention of either being a friend or being considered intelligent, or, you know what I mean? So there's that. And the other thing is like the number one most important thing in my life is I operate in gratitude. So if I know, like, I don't do anything that I don't want to do, anything. I won't ever do anything I don't want to do. So some people take that as kind of a negative, and it's not. Know that if I'm doing something with you, you don't have to ask me if this is what you wanted to do. Like, I'm already there. I'm already in. Like, once I'm in, I'm in. And I am also, to a fault. If we're doing something and you're going in to burn the building down, I've got the fucking match and the gasoline. Like, I'm in for,
Yeah.
for a pound. Like, I don't operate outside of that sphere. Like, I'm committed.
That's a rare quality that is very, hard to find these days, especially among friends and people that you can count on no matter what. When they give you their word, it actually means something. So
Yeah.
I have to say, I mean, I'm going to ask you lastly to give us your 5 good things, but I can honestly say that it has been such a joy to actually sit down and talk to you more than just what we talk and shoot the shit at the shows and stuff like that. And I look forward to more real, articulate, honest, conversations about all kinds of life shit. And I can't wait to meet your wife and hang out with her, because I know she has to be absolutely fabulous. Like,
She's
just,
awesome.
yeah, she has to be, because your aura and who you are. I mean, again, it's always nice to get to know a little bit more about people that you care about and that bits and pieces about. And I appreciate and respect you coming here and being honest and open about that. But yeah, I know that her and I could probably hang out and have a bunch of fun. So that's cool.
She's a neat person. She's, she balances me off very well. She's not loud, obnoxious, none of that stuff. She's like super, super low key, really, 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 really educated and smart. And, I mean, we've been together since she was 16 and I was 18. We were next door neighbors. So
cool.
That
is so cool.
Been a long time.
So go ahead, give us your 5 good things that you are appreciative of or grateful for. I'd love to hear.
My wife, my grandchildren, and my children and grandchildren. I'm grateful that as hard as it gets and as difficult as it becomes, and I think it's easier to quit than what it is to keep going. So I'm thankful that I haven't quit. Right. You know what I mean? On paper, I probably shouldn't have a bike shop. On paper, I probably should have went out of business 20 years ago, but I don't see that as an option. Right. So I'm glad that I get to come here every day and work on motorcycles. Like I'm thankful for the shop. I'm thankful for my friends, not just the hamsters, but my friends that they're in the industry. That I'm thankful for the fact that I could call almost any CEO in this industry if needed. And I'm thankful that people think I'm interesting enough to have the conversation like this. You know what I mean?
But you are.
People find that, that space in their day to sit here and listen to somebody blather on about themselves, because sometimes that's what it is. I don't do this for self-indulgence. It's just the same thing as my podcast. If I had my podcast just to serve my own needs, then I would be on it all the time. And I think it gets gross. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have a purpose for everything that you do.
Yeah. And it's nice to always be able to share another individual's perspective, especially when they're smart, they're articulate, they're passionate about what they do, no matter what it is, whether it's the laundry, building bikes, building a rocket ship for NASA, it doesn't matter. The passion, the drive, and the effort is something, again, that genuine people who their word is their bond, and what they put out into the world matters, because they know that the more good they put out there, the more good comes back to them, and not in a tangible way, in a very rewarding, heartfelt way. That's the important stuff. Like, for me, that matters.
Yeah.
Seeing my friends succeed.
I never let money be the reason that I get up in the morning,
No.
although money has been the reason that I've sat up all night many times.
Yes. I can wholeheartedly, absolutely understand that. Well, I can't thank you enough, and I appreciate you for being up and staying up. And Sir Jason, it's just a great honor, to have you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Hopefully it's Smoke Out. I'm going to see if I'm going to make that ride. I got this whole thing that I'm doing. Maybe we'll talk about. Maybe if you hang around for a minute after, before we say goodbye, before I close out. Yeah, that'd be cool. All right, everyone. Please, when you see this incredible, absolutely wonderful individual out in the world, make sure at the event you say hello. You stop, you share a smile. If you're in the Lakeland, Florida area, stop by, check out his shop, Cycle Stop USA, and then please go to garagebuiltpodcast.com and check it out. Absolutely fabulous. Sir, I thank you again so much. It's been absolutely wonderful and an honor.
And thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. All right. Tell the wife I said thank you for sharing her time with you.
I will. She's already asleep.
That's cool. Like I told you,
just now we go to bed early.
Sneak in there. It'll be like spontaneous, mixing it up a little. She'll be like, "Oh, honey, you're home from the war." I love it.
Yeah. That would be great.
You got it. All right, kiddo. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Again, how lucky am I? I am so just absolutely wonderfully lucky to have so many people in my life who will do this with me and share themselves with all of you. I absolutely love that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to close this one out here. Okay. Afterthought. So here it is. When it comes down to it, time, the meaning of time, the indefinite continued progress of existence and events in the past, present, and future regarded as a whole. Now, if you think about it, right, time is a person's most valuable commodity. So you got to spend it wisely and make it count. Live it, be it. Don't let anybody deter you from it. It really, really matters. Okay. And then, of course, you guys know the 5 good things, because this is home of the 5 good things. When things are tough, things aren't going your way, somebody else in your life is having a hard time. 5 good things. If you can find 5 good things, these always work. Be kind to yourself and others. Share a smile with a stranger. You can change their whole day, sometimes change their whole life. Help someone who needs it, even if you need help yourself. That matters. It really does. Giving of yourself, being of service, that's important. Whole nother show conversation, but yes, very much so. Find joy in one small thing every day. That will lift you up no matter what, always. And then remember, spread your sunshine even on the rainy days. I love you all so very much. I can't thank you enough for just always being here with me and enjoying the incredible people that I am blessed to have in my world and will share themselves with all of us. So I will see you guys next Monday. We have a fabulous guest. I don't want to blow. It's like a kind of little secret. So I love you all. I'll see you next week, 10 p.m. Thanks for staying up late. Have a great chopper week.